Good afternoon, I'm Sean Yao, and this is One News Now. COVID-19 cases in the Philippines have climbed to more than 30,600. The Health Department reports 630 cases today, of which 460 are fresh cases and over 160 are late cases. The DOH also records 8 new COVID-19 deaths, raising the death count to more than 1,170. Meanwhile, more than 8,140 have already gotten better from the virus, with 250 new recoveries tallied today. Globally, though, the World Health Organization reported the largest single-day increase in COVID-19 cases. More than 183,000 new COVID-19 cases were detected in the past 24 hours. There are now around 8.7 million COVID-19 cases around the world, with over 460,000 reported COVID-19 deaths. During the DOH virtual briefing, sociologist Dr. Nina Castillo Carandang reminds the public to check on each other amid the pandemic. Carandang says that people should take quarantine as a time to do self-care and reflect on the meaning of life. She adds that it is important to strive for social connectivity and physical distancing.
Sa panahon nga po ngayon na hindi po tayo katulad ng dati ang buhay-buhay natin, pwede po tayo magkamustahan online. Maaari pong may teknolohiya na pwede natin gamitin para socially connected tayo pero manitiling physical distance.
And Congress is still on break, but a congressional hearing still took place to discuss the ongoing SAP distribution, which has since been marred with issues here and there. Ria Fernandez is live at the Batasang Pambansa to give us the latest. Ria, what were the main points of today's discussions in the lower house?
Sean, even House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano couldn't help but air his frustration over the problems hounding the government's social amelioration program. During the congressional hearing today, Cayetano enumerated a list of concerns that led to delays in SAP distribution. This includes supposed bureaucratic processes, corruption, and confusion in guidelines at the local level. According to the House Speaker, part of the problem was caused by the Social Welfare Department's refusal to heed their suggestions in implementing the program. Cayetano also hit red tape in food pack distribution as experienced by his constituents in the Taguig-Pateros district. Here's what the House Speaker had to say.
Emergency, sorbahan to, kapit sa patalimang mga tao. Hindi tayo pwedeng masyadong bureaucratic. We have to start thinking na one team tayo.
Other representatives also noted some questionable parts in the DSWD guidelines for SAP distribution. Anakalusugan Representative Mike Defensor pointed out provisions that require beneficiaries to gather in a respective location to fill out SAP forms. The movie says does nothing but increase the risk of infection. Others, such as Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte and Cavite Representative Bambol Tolentino, noted that some DSWD regional offices implemented the release of AICs or the assistance to individuals in crisis situation and the SAP without proper distinction. The incident prompted the DSWD to send a new memo to regional directors to clarify the issue. Sean, during the hearing, Cayetano clarified that the intention of their hearing is not to point fingers, but to improve the system of SAP distribution. Right now, the government is focused on the distribution of the second tranche of SAP, which is aims to cover some 13 million beneficiaries from 11 areas in the country, including NCR. Meanwhile, House Committee on Good Government Chairperson Jonathan C. Alvarado cleared DSWD Secretary Rolly Bautista from these problems hounding the SAP distribution. He said that the secretary was able to act on the problems. Sean?
All right, Ria, I have to ask you about something that did crop up in one of the news items I read regarding the distribution of the first tranche of SAP, which was there were supposedly around 22,000, I guess, ghost beneficiaries that came up. Was this addressed in today's hearing?
Actually, that specific issue wasn't raised in today's hearing because today's hearing focused more on the slow distribution of SAP, which the DSWD officials tried to answer before the lawmakers.
With regard to the slow distribution, earlier we also carried a news item saying that this next tranche will be distributed using an automated system. Was that discussed today? And can you tell us more about that, if so?
Yes, that's correct. The DSWD officials said that one of the ways that they want to implement in the second tranche of the SAP distribution is by making the money distribution digitally, or they will do it through digital transfer. And they believe that if in the first tranche, the distribution lasted up to 2 months, with the digital transfer, they aim to cut the distribution time to at least 3 weeks. Nevertheless, they also consider that there could be security issues which they have to consider.
Okay, Ria, now to get to be more like to the nitty-gritty and actual specifics, exactly how does this automated distribution work? Will they be using like what the DOLE does or the SSS does, which is to use money remittance centers such as Palawan and GCash, PayMaya, and those kinds of services, or are they still going to be handing out cash? Exactly how will this automated system of distribution make things faster, and how do people actually know that this is how it's going to be distributed?
Well, before we stood up for the live report today, what we heard from the DSWD officials is they would be partnering with some money remittances. We'll get back to you what other means they will try to explore in order to transfer digitally the second tranche of cash aid.
All right, Ria, we'll let you get back to that hearing. I guess it's not over yet. Thank you very much, News 5's Ria Fernandez, joining us from the Batasang Pambansa. And former transportation official Mark Tolentino is the latest person to be linked to the $2 billion financial scandal involving Wirecard. A German newspaper said that in April of last year, Tolentino was appointed trustee or a trustee of Wirecard. And as trustee, Tolentino reportedly opened 6 accounts from BDO and BPI for Wirecard and invested a total of 1.9 billion euros. This was a matter that prompted auditors to check in on the funds since the account made was not in local currency. The German Daily reported that auditors were told that the certificates for the accounts and cash holdings are fake. Back in 2018, Tolentino was fired by President Duterte himself for allegedly having dealings with the president's sister. And the Anti-Money Laundering Council, meanwhile, is ready to help with the search for the $2 billion missing fund. The investigations of AMLAC and the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will focus on the supposed falsified documents which dragged 2 of the country's largest banks, talking about, of course, BDO and BPI, into this financial mess. The Bangko Sentral previously cleared the 2 banks from the Wirecard scandal, saying that no fund of that amount had entered the local financial system. Both BDO and BPI also denied Wirecard was their client. Shares of BDO slid on Monday's trade, while BPI shares climbed on the back of its latest bond offer. We'll have more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. Pandemic notwithstanding, the Philippine National Police is still bent on carrying out its anti-drug operation, even actually intensifying it. In an online press briefing, PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa says they are targeting to capture the top 10 most wanted drug personalities in every jurisdiction. Rogue cops, he says, will also be swiftly charged. Included in the PNP's new guidelines are the optimal use of technology for communication and data gathering, new normal modes of holding events, and advanced training on social media management. They will also release a new manual to observe safety protocols during operations.
In addition, I also echoed the guidance of President Rodrigo R. Duterte for PNP units to seize every opportunity to be on the offensive against illegal drugs. An all-out offensive puts the lives of our PNP personnel at risk, so we must exercise all possible precaution to ensure that they are safe and that no lives are lost.
And still on the PNP, Gamboa also wants the health status of police officers in Cebu to be monitored closely after 500 cops in Central Visayas tested positive for COVID-19, with 120 of them coming from Cebu. 100 uniformed personnel will be deployed as replacements while the others go through quarantine. He urges the RT-PCR testing laboratory in the region be fast-tracked in order to halt the spread of the virus.
We're rushing up our construction and accreditation of our RT-PCR in Cebu because there's so much infection there. As a matter of fact, ang dami. There was one time parang almost 10 coming from Cebu na positive.
And on to transportation, backriding may soon be allowed, but only for private motorcycles. Transportation agencies are now tasked to drop guidelines to maintain safety should this push through. However, Malacanang says motorcycle taxis like Angkas, Joyride, and Move It will still not be allowed to resume operations anytime soon.
Natapos na po yung testing period o pilot study. Hindi na po pwede ang kinagawian. Tayo po ay patungo sa new normal.
And the palace has assured the public that trains in the metro will be continuing to operate despite losses due to the pandemic. The LRT, MRT, and PNR trains are currently ferrying only 10 to 20% of their normal capacity, or some 140 to 160 passengers per trip. Palace spokesman Harry Roque says this is a sacrifice that the government is willing to make.
Wala po tayong choice. Malugit hindi. Kung walang sasakyan, kinakailangan i-operate, pero hindi naman po pwedeng i-operate sa isang pamamaraan na ikamamatay ng taong bayan. Again, we have chosen health over finance, no, or economics.
For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao, and we are One News.